Oh, hello there, and welcome to Ancient Civilizations Home Edition, Week 4. The theme this week is Prehistoric Europe and Stonehenge. How can you take a class that is a survey of world prehistory and not learn about Stonehenge? Well, you're gonna. And this is going to be actually the first year that I've taught this class that you will have formally learned about Stonehenge. Because you know what? The textbook, you'll notice this is the second edition. The first edition didn't have a chapter on prehistoric Europe and Stonehenge. What the hell? Why did they add it this time? Perhaps on the basis of all sorts of reviews of the first edition, or maybe they just wanted to put mysterious Neolithic stone monuments on the cover. Who knows? Anyway, you're going to learn about it this week. And this week is a short week. Would be a short week. If we were on campus, Thursday would have been the honors convocation and the Elk and Isaac Research Symposium in the afternoon, and we would not have had classes. So that this week, the only reading you have is the textbook chapter about prehistoric Europe and Stonehenge. There is no diamond collapse debate readings, because you know what? I have yet to encounter anyone who talks about Neolithic Europe as an episode of collapse. No doubt society changed such that so many Neolithic stone monuments like Stonehenge came to be abandoned and no longer used, and later generations of people in Europe up and through the Middle Ages speculated about who built these things. There's an early tapestry, a Renaissance era tapestry actually, that shows Merlin, you know, like from the Legend of King Arthur, building the stones, because people who lived there in Britain in the Renaissance didn't know what they were. There's not a lot of trees in the environment. Eventually it was deforested. Livestock will do that. Large-scale metallurgy will do that. But yet, it has not got the collapse treatment. It's also very rarely gets the alien treatment. Why do you suppose that is? 'Cause it's part of European history. So that, it represents the genius of the ancestors. Not an episode of aliens coming down and doing stuff, with those people. Nor is it usually taken as a representation of how those people fucked up their environment. Just some thoughts as we begin the week. And there we go. This is from the 1300s. It is the first known depiction of Stonehenge, and although it had been written about in Romance literature going back to about the 1100s. Thank you, Wikipedia. So who did build Stonehenge and why? You'll be able to answer that question if you do the work for this week. But first, I'm going to do what I usually do and remind you that the instructions for the week that were in the email you received on Monday morning can always be found here in the announcements section. They'll be pinned to the top. I would recommend that you print the announcement out and use it as a checklist to move through the week, just like you have the last 3 weeks. Not a lot of surprises here. Then if we scroll down here we are, the week of the 13th. Lucky 13. This is the lecture, the mini lecture on prehistoric Europe and Stonehenge that you're listening to now, or watching now, rather. Here's a discussion forum with some questions and some answers, or that you'll post answers to, that if you participate in, you'll see what other people wrote, and you'll write better answers in the assignment. I'll go through these things in a little bit, but the thing that I'd like to do first, before going back to Stonehenge and talking about it and showing some pictures, I had a chance to visit there a couple years ago. It was kind of highlighted for me. So stay tuned for a selfie of Dr. Chase with Stonehenge. The research paper assignment. Wow, y'all did great research for the third assignment. The create. No, I'm sorry, the second assignment that I graded this week, the one where I asked you to build an annotated bibliography. Everybody who turned in an assignment not only did great research, but I took the opportunity to give those folks suggestions, attach some articles to the thing, and if you did that second assignment, I have confidence that you have all the materials that you need to write the paper. You might ask, why is he saying this? I wrote that in my response to everyone's annotated bibliographies. The damn thing is, you might be surprised, or maybe not, that only something like 14 out of 24 people in the class did it. That means 10 y'all haven't done it yet. And if you're watching this and you haven't, it's not too late. I am here to help. If we were in class, I'd be telling y'all, looking you in the eyes, and this is the favorite part of my job. I love going through people's research topics and helping them find sources for it. So by all means, get on that. And if you did that, and you wrote an introductory paragraph and a thesis, I'll give you some suggestions on that. And in this week's assignment, I want you to write a title for your paper. I want you to come up with 3 possible titles for your paper. Here's a link that gives you some advice on how to write great titles. Your paper has to have a great title, and I think it's really useful to try to write out a couple of them, sort of brainstorm here. So I want you to write 3 possible titles, and I'll help you pick. Then I want you to write an outline. And I strongly recommend that you use headings so that you have distinct sections of your paper, each with a heading. So introduction, background. This is just an example. You don't have to do it exactly this way, but if you did do it this way, you would have a strong paper. I'm just going to very briefly talk through this to give you my perspective on what makes for a strong paper if you've not written a paper for me before. You have to have a strong introduction. And this is where you take control of this, of your research paper. You tell me what it is about. This is where you set the reader's expectations. Right? You tell me what the paper is going to be about, and the thesis statement is where you tell me what you're going to tell me. You propose, so in the introduction, you propose your research question and you tell me how you're going to answer it. That's your thesis. It gives me something to expect. That I expect then that you are going to lead me to your answer to your research question throughout the paper, and you have to begin with a background section, and this is where you should use our course materials, the textbook chapter, and even the other Diamond and Questioning Collapse authors to build up a background, dates, places, geographic situation, agriculture, society, environment, etc. Whatever you think is relevant for your paper. And then, what's the debate? Why has it been argued that the society underwent a collapse? What are the different perspectives on that collapse? Present it here as neutrally as you can. And then this is the most important part, your research and findings. And this is where you use the sources that you found to help you decide on what you think about some set of facts based upon the most recent research. And then you have a discussion section where you where you return to that debate and using the research, using your findings, help you decide, help discuss which side of the debate you think is the most validity, who wins, if you will. And then in the conclusion, you tell me what you've learned. You tell me what you told me. So the introduction, you tell me what you're going to tell me. And in the conclusion, you tell me what you told me. It's actually a fairly straightforward paper. And if you did the annotated bibliography assignment, you all have all the research you need. If you do this, you'll have a tight outline, and the paper will pretty much write itself. But now let's go back to Stonehenge. Stonehenge was not built by Merlin, was not built by Druids, most certainly was not built by aliens. And your job this week is to put it in context. You'll do that by reading the textbook chapter and answering some questions in the assignment. It's really as simple as that this week. I want you to focus on your research paper as much as you can, and just take this week to take a deep breath a little as best you're able, and take stock of where you're at. Anyway, let's go to the real thing. Here we are. This is my visit to Stonehenge. It had been on my list for a long time, and in the summer of 2016, I was finally able to go there. I was attending. I was in India doing research, and then there was an archaeology conference in Cardiff, Wales, that I went to, and then I went back to India. But I got to spend a week in Cardiff, Wales, and Stonehenge is only about a 2-hour train ride from there. So I'll skip a day of conference to go to Stonehenge. That's my friend Marta right there. She's an art historian who studies the Indus civilization as well. It's actually it's not as large as you might think. I mean, so many of the spooky mystical images you see of it in the stock footage, ancient aliens and shit like that, and crystal links and all the goddamn stuff that shows up on the interwebs when you search for Stonehenge, don't show people beside it. I mean, no doubt it's large. It would take quite a few people to push one of those things, long log rollers, over a course of some of them. The biggest ones here only came from 20, 30 miles away. Holy crap, 20, 30 miles pushing one of those things? The bluestones in the center also were a couple tons, and they came from over 100 miles away. Why the heck would somebody do that? That's the question that's going on in all these people's minds here. Some clues to what the place was used for come from, let's just look at some more pictures. I mean, there, without any people in it, it's hard to tell how big it really is. From a distance, it looks like it's towering over all the people, and I think this gives you a little bit more perspective I think this is a little bit more accurate perspective. Some clues have about how it was used come from archaeology. So much archaeology that's been done in the place, including the excavations of the Aubrey holes. This happens to be one of the Aubrey holes that is located smack dab in the middle of the pavement that they put around the place to keep the people moving. What's an Aubrey hole? Do the reading and find out. The Aubrey holes actually also figure into the film that I want you to take a look at. The film is based on here it is. It's right here. Secrets of Stonehenge. This is a link to a YouTube video, but the resolution is pretty good. It's an episode of Nova from a couple of years ago, and it really represents the most recent research that was done I think it was between 2010 and 2016. There was a really massive research project that was done to try to put Stonehenge in the context of Neolithic settlement in the region. And it's significant because you might imagine that lots of archaeologists want to dig the place up. And so the archaeologists who finally got permission to do the work there, spent literally years and years and years and years planning and pitching to English Heritage. That's the organization in Britain that manages, in England rather, that manages their historic sites. Finally gave them permission to do this new archaeology, and it's represented in that film very nicely. More pictures of the monuments, and there we are. The money shot. This was definitely on my posted on my Facebook, and probably got the most likes of that year. Back when I cared about such things, that was before the election of 2016 and fake news, and I don't know, my deciding that Facebook was kind of dumb. But anyway. And here we are back from the Salisbury Plain in Western England to our course web. And the discussion questions this week I think are going to be kind of fun. Remember, you can earn five sweet points for a strong answer here, and you can do that as many times as you want, and it's like unlimited extra credit. I want you to have as many opportunities to do well in this class as you can, despite the crazy COVID stuff going on. So let's take a look at these real quick. What's a druid, and did they build Stonehenge? What was going on in Mesopotamia at the time? Is Stonehenge completely unique, or is it actually kind of similar to some stuff that we've studied before? If you're listening to this, I kind of think it has some similarities to some other stuff that we might have actually talked about in this class. I'd like to see what you're thinking of. How might you convince your uncle that Stonehenge was not built by aliens? It's kind of like what we did in class, coming up with reasons for why the pyramids were not built by aliens. And then finally, what the hell was Stonehenge? I could swear a little bit in this because nobody's going to go through and watch it, but this is committed to pixels you can take screenshots of. So what the heck was Stonehenge? And this is an opportunity to just explain it in your own words. And that will help when you write the assignment, which is right here. And in the assignment, I want you to put Stonehenge in context. From the time of the last hunting, gathering, foraging people of Europe, the origins of agriculture. It was Neolithic or early agricultural people that built Stonehenge. What are some of the explanations for why it was built and how it was used? And then what came afterwards? What was going on in the so-called Bronze Age that follows after the Neolithic period? And then what the hell happened to the Bronze Age? What was the Iron Age, and how did it come to an end? And when you write this question, keep an eye out for this. What was an oppida? Oppidum is the singular, oppida is the plural, and these are kind of neat places. And if you were to take Archaeology of Empire with me, I'm not teaching it this fall, but I'll teach it next year, alternating years. We read a book on the Roman Empire north of the Alps. So what happened when the Romans came into what is now France and Britain, and incorporated those places into their already thriving empire. Oppida were one of the things that they encountered there. And, well, they had some things to say about it, but archaeologists have some different things to say about it. So I think it would make you a better person if you know about these things. And then how did the Iron Age come to an end in Europe north of the Alps? Hint, hint, has to do with the Roman Empire. And that's what you're supposed to do this week. So far, this video message has been about half as long as the previous ones, which I bet you're okay with. If you'd like to talk about any of this stuff, or your research paper, or pretty much anything else, you know where to find me. At our regularly scheduled class time on Tuesday this week. Come on to the virtual office hours, and I will see you there.